All right, welcome back to the Jaunty Mantis. This is a podcast full of curious questions for creative gamers, or is it creative questions for curious gamers? I don't remember. I'm your co-host, Matty, and with me is
Jesse, the other guy.
The other guy. This is a podcast about what? Tabletop role-playing games or so, and other nerd garbage. And we are in the midst of season 2. And Jesse, what are we doing for season 2?
Creations without number.
What is creations without number?
This season we kicked it off by talking about genre, and then we just really wanted to kind of explore what it's like to do world building and creation in different genres of role playing with some of the tools that are available to people in this hobby. And one of those tools we're relying on a lot is the works of Kevin Crawford of Sine Nomine Publishing, who has Worlds Without Number, a weird fantasy game, Stars Without Number, a sci-fi game, and Cities Without Number, a cyberpunk game, and also Wolves of God, the game where you're 7th century Anglo-Saxons adventuring. Bonus episode idea, we create a minster using the rules from, which is like a church, using the rules from Wolves of God.
I love it. I love it. Yeah, this is season 2 is devoted to the creative process, and Jesse and I had the bright idea to share ours with our audience. We're big believers in this podcast being a tool and a resource for, other gamers and game masters, or at least a place where you can find people who think similarly to you and enjoy the weirdness and specialness of our hobby. And we're going to kind of have a little bit of a precursor to this conversation that, Jesse and I, we've been doing this for a long time. We vibe with each other very well. That's why we're best friends, amongst many other reasons. And please do not be intimidated by our creative process. It's just a source of inspiration, or at least, a preview into a way you could design a setting. And so we are going to use these awesome tools that Kevin Crawford has created. And as we've been saying in every episode, support this guy, buy his stuff.
Yeah, give him motivation to keep making more.
Yes, we want more. So let's show him that we want more. There are free versions of all the books that we'll be featuring in the Numbers series, and feel free to go check them out, certainly. But also, if you like what you see, go get the paid version, Yeah,
on Drive Through RPG. That's where I got all mine through Kickstarters. But if I was buying one, I'd do it through Drive Through RPG. Yeah. The largest provider of PD. Oh, they don't sponsor us.
Yeah. Yep. All right. So give us a brief rundown of how we got here.
So we are in the middle of our fantasy creation arc, and so we were using Worlds Without Number. And in our last episode, which was a week ago, dear listener, if you're listening on a weekly basis, we created the world of Beneath, all triggering from the idea that one of the questions was, is there anything weird about physics or the laws of the universe? And we kind of went with a big swing on that of there's 3 moons. One of them is stationary, and it's just a massive skull that faces the world, staring down at it all the time.
Correct.
Matt talked a little bit about how this is an afterlife of a failed heroic adventure against a big bad evil guy who won, but maybe the prophecy was incomplete.
Correct.
We established that there is a large imperium that makes travel between distant places hard, and that was the Pax Osseous. The note I have is, mobile kingdom literally shaped from the bones of their enemies. They are currently self-destructing under a lack of enemies to fight.
Mm-hmm. Which is all part of the prophecy.
Mm-hmm. And then we created a region called the Marrow Fells with a couple geographical features of note. The Desert of Teeth, which is a very descriptive name. The Shield Hills, the Bile Mount, the Spore Wood, Dryadmorn Forest, and the Plowvex Plains. And then we created up some people that I think live near the Shield Hills, because they're mining there and they have some conflict. This was the kingdom of Isurik Mot. They were magically created or shaped. I am remembering this now.
Yes.
Like the gods are just like, yeah, I don't like the people who live there. We're just going to make some new people.
Yeah, we're just going to make new ones.
Do you remember what's interesting or weird about these people?
They have tattoos or scars on their heads. They don't have any hair.
Yeah. And they're born with them.
They're born with them. And I don't know if we brought this up last time, but there's a societal schism about who is original and who was made by the gods. Is what I'm thinking. I don't know if we discussed that last time, but I think that like there could be a whole group of them that are like they're convinced that they found out who the real ones are and who are descended from the ones that were made up.
Well, since we're going to start off today with religion, that's perfect.
That's right. So this will be part 2 of the fantasy project, and part 3 we will be doing what, Jesse?
In part 3, we will be actually trying to create some stats and a little bit of a description for those race in potentially a couple different RPG systems.
Yeah. So what we wanted to do is not just create a setting for cyberpunk, fantasy, and sci-fi. We also wanted to show how to use what you create. And so for cyberpunk, we created like a first adventure. And for this book, we're like coming up with playable races, and there'll be a third component for our sci-fi one as well.
Yep. So that's the backstory. If you didn't catch that one, that would be episode 5 of season 2. And
if you have been listening, if you've been binging up to this point, I'm sorry that you have to keep listening to this over and over and over again. So let's get started.
All right. Religion construction. We're going to start off. If you're following along at home, this is on page 140 of Worlds Without Number. And the first question is, who leads the faith?
Who leads the faith? And there's a table. And I need to roll 1d8 on this table. And I got a 6.
A 6. There is no official clergy. Some believers may take up special roles or provide teaching, but they are not qualitatively different from others unless they're from those guys that aren't the ones made by the gods.
Have you read the Invincible comic or seen the Invincible show?
I watched season 1 of that.
Okay, the Muller brothers, the big muscle-bound blue guys who can't figure out which one of them is a clone. They're clones of each other in respects. You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
I kind of envision it that way, where the people in this society are eternally in conflict about who's from the original people and who's from like the replacement people. And I feel like this plays a lot into it, where there's no official clergy because nobody can gain enough of a standing in this culture without being questioned as to their authenticity. And because there's the copies or the new versions are so good, like such good replications of the originals, that nobody has an actual way to prove this. It's all in their heads.
It's all faith-based.
Yes.
Okay. I can dig.
All right, then what's next?
There's one thing that I was thinking about this, that I'm trying to find the name of it. There was an episode a couple years ago of Hardcore History that was like a one-off, like a Blitz episode. I think it was a one-off, but it was about this group of Protestants in Germany who like decided to throw out the church and take over a city, like all based on the idea that everyone could interpret the Bible. And it was like a sort of like commune, everybody's equal, everybody can interpret the Bible sort of thing. I'm not actually trying to do a Dan Carlin. My voice is just getting scratchy. So, sorry for the listeners at home. But again, just imagine you're there on that battlefield. So yeah, what if it's like that? Like, what if they recently threw away the scripture and this is like a Protestant, everyone can interpret the text and the will of God. Yeah. And so now it's like 100 little fanatical cults popping up.
Yeah. Each slightly different than the others. Right.
And the whole thing about who's a fake, I'm just thinking like the highest compliment in this society is that guy over there. He's a real one.
He's
a real one, that guy.
Yeah, that is a real... That is a real America kind of vibe to it.
All right. What is the origin of the god?
Well, we will roll 1d12 and find out. I got a 2.
A 2. It's a legendary historical hero or teacher.
Oh, wow.
The first of the created.
Didn't all the legendary heroes die, though, trying to fight the skull in the sky or the great evil? Or
I think that was the people of the Shield Hills.
Right. Okay. Well, then where did this legendary hero come from?
He's the first of the created.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Yeah.
Like he's the one who was created first and learned at the feet of their creator and then passed on the teachings of wisdom and civilization and whatnot to the other created who came later. Some of whom were real and some who were not.
Yeah. This is some evil shit.
It's a religion. Oops.
All right. We ready for the next part?
Yeah. Why does this faith matter?
It matters because number 2.
It provides magical favors to the faithful.
Wow.
So if you think about the cultural carrots and sticks, magical favors to the faithful. I mean, again, it's just.
So what kind of magical favors are we talking about, Dan Carlin?
Magical favors, eyebrow wiggle. No, I don't know.
This is an audio podcast.
That's why I said eyebrow wiggle to indicate what I was doing.
Oh, man.
I don't know. You got anything for this?
Provides magical favors to the faithful. Well, with all these disparate factions of this idea, how do we determine what the faithful actually is? Like, what does it mean to be the faithful?
Okay, this may be too on the nose, right?
Sure.
But with the mining, these people, they've been living next to the taint and the ancient remnants of the Shield Hills for so long. What if some people we also have the power of the field sprouting weapons that we talked about last time. What if some people just spontaneously develop the ability to call forth specific things?
Like
shields or spears or weapons from the ground. Like you can find them sticking out, but these people can actually, the magical favor is they call forth a blade or a shield for you.
Gotcha. Yeah, I like it.
And until fairly recently, this was pretty well controlled or restricted, but something has changed. And now all kinds of people are finding they can do it. And that's the mark of divinity. That's the gift of arming yourself for the hunt or to protect your city that was given by the first created.
Love it.
So they can all talk to God, everyone who can do this.
That works for me. I like it. But what does this faith want?
Ooh, what do they want? To roll a D12.
And I got a 12. Roll again. Stop a rival from doing that. That's perfect. 10. Perform a tremendously expensive rite. Interesting.
Well, there is that cult in the Shield Hills.
You tell me more.
Well, we determined there was like a religious cult over there who like worship the ghosts of their ancestors, who are the ones who laid down their shields waiting for the time to come again. I view the tattoo blood marked people that from the the nation we created as being kind of just opportunists who are starting to be affected by the place where they are opportuning, as it were. These are not the great champions, maybe, or the last ones to resist the will of the skull.
Okay. So the faith wants to stop the rivals from performing a tremendously expensive rite. How is it expensive?
I mean, the obvious answer for beneath to me is the cost in lives and human sacrifice.
So then this other portion of the society who believes it is their a right of their heritage to take up the arms of their ancestors and continue the holy war, essentially, to finish out the prophecy, they're going to perform that. That's part of the expensive rite, is what you're saying, is the cost that will take on the toll it will take on their society.
Well, I was thinking like that cult in the Shield Hills are an entirely different people.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the ones who want to do this right.
Right.
But I mean, I don't know if we want to make it economic, but in a sense, if the right's successful, there won't be a Shield Hills anymore.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that would be bad. How would you know who can talk to God if there's no shields to call forth from the ground?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, and these weapons connect them with their ancestors, which is a higher form of assumed divinity, right?
Yeah.
Or at least an assumed divinity that has more depth to it. That sounds like something a replicant would say.
No, I'm real. You sound like something a replicant.
Oh, I'm an original. All right. My family was born here. I wasn't made by a god to look like me.
This is the thing that it took me years of DMing to get over doing. And I wish I would have done it much sooner, because I'm always like, it has to be unique. It has to be my idea. You got this idea from, what are those guys on Invincible called?
The Mahler brothers or something?
The Mahler brothers from Invincible. And now we're just running with it. And it's great.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Like, look, I consider myself to be a creative person, and I understand the boundaries of ripping off other people's stuff or what that looks like, or, but and how you should try to be original and authentic. Don't worry about that when you're doing a role-playing game. Do the opposite of that. Don't try to have like an amazing original concept or idea when it comes to the story of your game. And to kind of piggyback on what Jesse just said, I also learned this because I also wanted to try to do something original, and I just kept finding out I wasn't. And if you do something that you can pull from other things and people recognize it, just own it, because that's happened to me. I don't remember what it was. It was a long time ago in my gaming career where somebody was like, "Oh, you got that from this," and I was like ashamed. And I wish I could go back in time and tell my younger self, like, don't be ashamed for that. Tell that person, yeah, that's right, I pulled it from that. There's nothing wrong with that. If you want to, just own it. If you want to do your own version of whatever X is that's out in the storytelling medium, just do it. Just own it. Ideas that other people are familiar with in our storytelling culture will make your game better because it resonates with them. There's less work required to do the story of your game.
This is slightly tangential to that, but like, it's one of the complaints about sci-fi games I've heard, and I can't remember which of the gaming podcasts I've heard. I think maybe Smart Party. What does a Smart Party do? Or what would the Smart Party do? But they said one of the problems with sci-fi games that are unique IPs is you don't know what the ships look like.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you play a Star Trek game.
Yeah.
You know what the ships look like.
Yeah. That's such a great point.
Like Star Wars, it's an X-Wing. Oh, I know exactly what that looks like. No line art drawing.
Mm-hmm.
isn't necessarily going to do the same thing.
Oh my God, that's so true. I'm thinking of like generic sci-fi role-playing game systems, like D20 Modern's version of a their sci-fi D20 Future, I think it was called. And you're like, I go into the books looking, what do the ships look like? What do the vehicles look like? Like, and it just doesn't make a very good impression. And, so when you can rely on that other stuff go ahead.
This is again a tangent. Sorry to get off topic. But hey, it's my podcast, so
yeah,
whatever.
What you want.
That was to the listeners. No, I'm never sorry to talk about game stuff with you. I think that may actually just be an art quality issue.
Oh, right. That makes sense.
Because thinking about that and then thinking about, my riffs obsession, like I know what a glitter boy looks like,
Mm-hmm.
I know what these things look like and what they do.
I mean, I was looking through the Riffs book last night and you come across the Coalition skeletons. And I'm like, oh, these are so cool looking. Like, that's so clever to make them look like Terminators, but like thin skeletal Terminators. You know what I mean? Like, it's brilliant. It's a brilliant idea to be like, this looks like something that because you're a nerd.
Yep.
So don't shy away from it. Embrace it. We have a society of Muller brothers or whatever they're called.
Who wants to stop those religious fanatics in the Shield Hills from sacrificing enough of their own people or the miners they've been capturing to awaken their ancestors. What are the clergy like, though? That's a question I'm wanting to know.
Answer that with a D8, okay. And we got a 4.
4. Sorcerers who serve the god as part of their magical studies or effort.
Interesting.
Can we work with that one? My initial reaction is I don't like it.
My initial reaction is that as well, because it goes back to what we originally rolled as far as who leads the faith. And I'm trying to go ahead.
If you go with the 5e conception of a sorcerer as a wizard whose magic is in the blood and it's untrained.
Mm-hmm.
Let's re-roll it.
All right. 2.
Chosen from specific bloodlines or groups and trained to serve the faithful.
That's much better. Specific bloodlines in a society that that has trouble differentiating between the originals and the replicants.
Mm-hmm.
Perfect.
Okay.
See what a reroll can do for you, listener?
What is their societal function?
We'll find that out with a D20 roll. I got a 4.
4. Ooh, the first created is a devil figure that must be placated.
Wow.
Logru is mighty beneath the waves.
Wow. Yeah, man. So it's a devil figure that must be placated. How does that work?
Imagine any religion in a world with a giant skull staring at you, not turning to like sacrificing to avert its ill gaze.
That's right. I forgot it's really weird and dark. So that's kind of perfect. That of course it's a devil that must be placated. This is like a weird hellish afterworld.
You have to pay for the services of teaching you the ways of civilization. Because he said he'd come back and check. And if you hadn't mastered it, he'd wipe you all out. No one in the society is quite sure they've mastered civilization yet.
Yeah. I dig it. All right. Well, what is the god's portfolio?
Ooh.
20 is the human concern.
Wisdom.
And then 16 is the natural principle.
Untamed nature. Do you remember how we determined that like their societal core values are all about like being charming?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
Like values they esteem are leadership and charisma in the group, beauty and seductive charm.
Mm-hmm. Well, then that's perfect for the untamed nature.
Yeah, they're the duality of their god. There's the part they've got down, which is this, but the wisdom part, not so much. And that's why it has to be kept fed and sleepy.
All right.
Or the terrible dream of the skull moon that squats foully in the place of their god who it ate in his sleep must be placated.
There is this quality in our own world, in the mythologies and religions of our own world, where the devil-like creature is less of a malign evil and more of like a gluttonous trickster type character, like a feet of cloven hoof, horned devil, that it has a phallic sexual nature that is overindulgent. You know what I mean? The temptation part of the devil, I guess I should say.
Yeah.
And I think that works with, the tenets of the society.
Cool.
All right. For the faith strictures, another D20.
Yep.
Got a 15.
Oh, this is so great with the idea of like this explosion of lay clerics. Hide the faith's inner teachings from outsiders. They have failed at this.
Failed miserably.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's perfect.
I feel like I've said this before, I guess again. I love the way this creates all of this tension.
Mm-hmm.
Because that tension creates people who want things done.
Yep.
Which is prompts for adventures.
Yeah. Yeah, it's very cleverly creating the necessary notes for your adventure, the problems, the obstacles, the tension, the difficulties. All right, ready to make a temple?
Yeah. It's a one roll, so we need one of each dice.
A D6, D8, D10, D12, a D20, and a D4. We start with the D4?
Yep.
Roll them all.
How big is the temple?
I got a 4.
Unusually large or grand for its site.
This should be because they keep making separate installments of it and then connect them, because there's all these there's this fractured nature of their religion. And then because of like loose alliances or mistrust, like they have to come back together and separate at various points. So the temple is like almost the size of the whole city. The whole city is basically the temple, with key structures that are connected or have been blocked off over time. So there's like this veritable labyrinth or maze underneath the city that connects various parts of like the temple. Like the temple is the city.
Yeah.
Because people keep creating towers or structures.
I'm getting I don't think we should describe it as having this architecture, but I'm getting a real Angkor Wat vibe.
Oh, okay.
But like Angkor Wat is a working temple.
For the listeners, what is Angkor Wat?
Angkor Wat is the biggest temple in a city of temples that is in Cambodia. And the only buildings that were allowed to be built out of stone were temples.
Mm-hmm.
And when the society collapsed, they left a bunch of temples in the jungle. And the people of Cambodia have cleared that out so you can visit it. And so there's these cool clusters of towers and stone temples, often with invisibility of each other. And they sort of, because of the damage of time and the moss on them, you'll see like a smiling Buddha face, but covered in like this lichen, and everything kind of resembles like, you ever make, did you have a name for it when you'd go to the beach and get real wet sand in your hand and then like drip a tower out of it?
No, I don't think we ever had a name for it, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. I'm thinking like, it looks like that.
Okay.
Like a very bioorganic sort of like
a hive almost.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, great call. Number 3 for our D6. What do the locals think of it?
They accept it as a tolerable shrine.
They have no choice.
Yeah, they live in it. What can you do? That's just the city.
That's right. Who is in charge there? We got a 6.
A grizzled and pragmatic leader.
Look, at the end of the day, we're all one people.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm thinking of the Sly Flourish lazy DM guide, the thing about NPCs, like pick a dude from a movie or media. When it said a grizzled and pragmatic leader, I was like, what if you just model him off Dan Carlin?
I'm starting to sense a theme here. I like it.
But I like Dan Carlin. I don't know.
No, that works.
No, I mean, yeah, that's silly. I like it, but it's silly.
But silly works.
They have a grizzled, pragmatic leader. Oh, and the pragmatic thing is like, we could have this holy war, with all these people that are suddenly finding themselves to have the power we've tried so hard to keep secret. They're just being born with it. We could have a holy war, or we could just say, yes, you are part of the Brotherhood of Faith too. Maybe.
Yeah, they've kind of democratized the faith, right?
Yeah.
That's what you were describing earlier.
Or maybe he's like, I can't stop this.
Right.
And
so
trying
we just have to
and
embrace
failing
it.
would lose my position.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. What particular help can it provide? And I got a 2.
They're unusually flush with cash.
Okay. Why? Is it because they accept the way things are? It's become quite lucrative. Like,
yeah. Are you building an army? Are you building a military force? You need some weapons? We can get them for you.
Yeah, like this grizzled and pragmatic person is like, look, we just have to embrace this. What do you need? And how can I get, let's talk about how I can get it for you,
Yep.
It's worked out very well for them. It's a weird, like, pseudo way of bringing people together by just attacking the problems pragmatically. It's like, go ahead.
I think too, one of the things we talked about last time is like, it's sort of the Pax, the Osseous Pax or the Pax Osseous is not into people getting weapons out of the ground. But it's been like 2 generations since an envoy of the Pax came to collect the tithe. Like people like, they're busy. They're not coming back. Maybe that's true. I hope it's true for these people.
Yeah, I mean, that society is self-destructing. The Pax, Pax Osseous is self-destructing. The warlords are turning on each other.
Be a shame if they found someone who broke Pax law that, they could then go fight.
Yeah, it'd be a real shame if they found a common enemy, a sizable threat that they could all like stop infighting and be like, oh, wait a minute, right. Let's go kill them instead.
Wait, guys. Do you remember when this was fun? Because those guys over there.
Do you remember when this was fun?
Remember, it was just all about like liches and bones, dude. Just liches and bones.
Remember when it was about like senseless murder, but like the murdering them, man, not us.
Yeah, that's not a murder. It's a culling.
That's right. All right. What problems does it have? Number 2.
The locals expect a miracle. It can't. Oh, I love that.
Why do you love it? Go ahead.
Oh, it just creates more doubt and like maybe there's a way to do the miracle. But the church doesn't have it. And you'd have to travel into the, Shield Hills where those crazy cultist dudes are to get the thing we'd need to do the miracle. Hey, you there, adventurers.
Yeah. It's almost like it's the setup for an adventure.
I know.
All right.
What's the miracle?
Is that a table we can roll on?
No, unless it's later in the book where I haven't seen it.
I mean,
the big problem we had is they're losing farmland.
Yeah. Well, yeah, they have weapons and armor coming out of the ground from like the like the old battlefields that are still underneath the earth. I mean, the miracle essentially is deliverance to the end of the prophecy, right? Like it's the holy war.
Okay.
It's like bringing back. I mean, you could go just generic fantasy and be like, it's like all the old heroes are returning. That's the miracle. What do you think about that?
Do you think the people know about the prophecy?
If they do, they have a really fucked up and skewed version of it because this fractured nature of their religion has changed things to suit. It's like Christianity.
It's like
the Bible's been rewritten so many times to suit whoever was in power. But it's
so I don't like there is definitely like a religious aspect that of this society that is on edge, but I don't see this as a society fundamentally balanced on the knife's edge to fall.
Mm-hmm.
This is kind of a people on the rise. They've got a good thing with resources. They've got some trouble with their fields, converting plowshares to swords instead of the other way around.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The original concept was to provide a glimmer of hope in an otherwise bleak and dark setting. And so this is a society that should be on the rise. It should be able to succeed with, generally speaking.
Oh, I got it. The miracle they can't provide is knowledge of who's an original and who's a replicant.
Oh yeah, obviously. Shit. How do we overlook that? It was like staring us in the face this entire time.
We didn't. We got there in the end.
Yeah.
We didn't overlook it.
And it was about the friends we made along the way.
It was. Particular quirks about the temple? 19. It displaced a former faith, perhaps violently.
I mean, come on. I mean, everything is a former faith. It's got a real Starbelly Sneetches kind of feel to it.
Okay, let's make a malevolent cult. Maybe this is the remnants of the old faith that was displaced.
All right. What pages is that on?
Page 145.
All right. Oh, we doing a big roll?
Yep.
All right, here we go. Our D4 came up as a 3.
How unified is the cult?
Tenuously balanced factions cooperate.
Okay.
Not unlike the primary religion.
Yeah. It's all factions all the way down.
Okay. And then what general goal do they have? Number 1.
Glorify their dark god in its vile ways.
Perfect.
But guys, have you heard about the wisdom of the skull? It's always watching. It's like right there.
I feel a lot safer knowing that somebody's looking out for me. And when I feel afraid, I just look up and see the skull.
And in the yawning black emptiness of the sockets of its massive eyes, as it hangs against the starless sky, I know the skull loves me, and he loves you too.
Often I wonder why we live in a bleak void of nothingness. It seems like hell. But then I remember that the skull is always watching, and that brings me comfort.
The skull put us here to forge us into the true people we need to be. And in order to do that, we have to make some sacrifices, like you and all your children. So please step up onto this altar.
So true. All right. What general goals do they have? Did we do that one
No,
yet?
we did that.
We
They just want
did
to
that one.
glorify their dark god. And what's so horrible about this faith?
It's number 2. Their hideous appetites of the flesh are sacred. Eaters of the dead.
Yep.
You know why? Because the cult believes that originals, eating the originals, the flesh of an original, is sacred. What do you think? Either that or
Yes.
eating the flesh of a replicant is sacred because they were created by the divine.
Oh, I had an idea. Tell me what you think about this.
Okay.
When the gods created these new people, they basically just looked at the people that were already living there and just made people like them because they were suited for that terrain. They're just going to make their own ones that were more loyal and could do better. So maybe it's the created are the ones that are right. The originals are the ones that are bad. And these are the originals. And they think if they eat the flesh of the created, they'll be closer to their original gods who, scourge them. Except there's just one problem. They look exactly like each other. No one's really sure who is one of the original people that lived here and who's one of the created, because it's been centuries.
That's right. I love it. I think it's brilliant. I love it.
How do the clergy enforce their will?
They do so with a number 9.
Ooh, control of an addictive thing they need.
Yeah, cannibalism.
Ketracel White.
Ketracel White. Are they addicted
Sweet
to
meats
eating
and minced pies?
Are they addicted to eating the flesh?
Yeah, I think our setting is bleak enough.
Do we really need another like a separate substance, or do we just keep doubling down, keep doubling down, keep doubling down?
I mean, okay, let's go with cool factor. Their sacred right is cannibalism. It's generally frowned on. The only way to get some of that sweet meat is at a church service, or I don't know, they have some kind of hallucinogenic drug in the incense they burn at temple. That, to me, the whole cannibal ones is cooler.
It is cooler, right? But then it's about access, I mean, it's a cult. We don't want to overthink it.
Okay.
I think we have what we need. It doesn't need to be a separate drug. It can be the flesh. We're talking about the flesh of beings created by gods. It's entirely plausible in this fantasy universe that it has an addictive element to it.
Okay.
Or at least eating it makes you crazy and it changes your brain chemistry.
Yeah. I like it. I think this is my favorite table. And here's why. Any game where there's a lot of cult activity that I've ever wanted to run or play, right? Any of the Warhammer 40K books, right? Any of those games, there's a whole cult thing. I'm always like, why would somebody join a cult?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not talking about real world cults where charismatic people prey on loners. I guess, okay, that's actually it. But I'm like, why would you want to join this weird secret society like the Order of the Serpent's Eye? That's what they call themselves. Why would you be like, these guys seem super cool? Because it's not like in those settings they can just go around having meetings at the library. Would you want to know the truth?
Yeah. It's like when you crack open a deity's book for something like Dungeons and Dragons, and they're like, this is the god of pain and suffering, and their followers all gather around to commit acts of pain and suffering, and you're like, why would people be into this? Like, hey, you want to join a cult where it's a strict pyramid system and you're on the bottom and we like whip you and beat you until you're like you fall unconscious from the pain? You're like, yeah, I'm into that. How do I sign up?
Well, I just thought this was a potluck.
Yep.
I just came for like the spaghetti and meatballs. It's spaghetti night. Right? Oh no.
Yeah.
Then you wake up.
Yep.
I survived that. It's like when I got that tattoo, my adrenaline's pumping. I'm going to join these guys forever.
Strangely into it.
Mm-hmm. What problems does it have?
It has number 6. There's a dangerous schism in its ranks, which is the setup for an adventure.
Yep. We've already got the factionalism. So
it's
brewing. And specific traits of the cult.
I mean, you could even take it a step farther by saying there's an aspect of the cult that realizes like how bad this is, that it's self-destructive, right? There's a schism in it that's trying to save the people in it from going down a disastrous path as well.
So we're going to humanize the drug addicted, flesh addicted cannibals.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if it serves the narrative of the adventure.
All right. I'm into it.
I just see like a plausible adventure path where somebody who is in the cult has gotten out of the cult and is hired the adventurers to like go in and get the rest of their family members, you know, and then the party has to like, you know, join the cult and get involved with the cult and, you know, get in deep. Like I see like an adventure forming for some reason around that.
Okay.
Right. Specific traits of the cult.
Yep.
Number 7.
Number 7. They live where normal people couldn't.
Yeah, in the vast labyrinth.
Yep.
Underneath the city.
So there's basically like ghoul
they're like
people.
Morlocks.
Yeah. Or chuds.
Yeah. Yep.
Cannibalistic humanoid underground dwellers. Cool.
For sure. All right, what's next?
Let's go with, what's a rural village look like?
Heavily defended.
Well, let's find out on page 149.
Okay.
So this is the community section where you can generate communities. Communities are, of course, sites that prompt adventure. We have, well, I'll let you dealer's choice pick on this. We have rural villages, major cities, tribes, and exiles.
Let's do village.
Okay.
I'm gonna, in Kevin we trust here.
Okay.
I'm excited to see what the Kevin Crawford system delivers on a village. Because a village normally seems really simple and basic and straightforward. So I would like to see what this system offers as far as making a village interesting and part of the setting.
All right.
Roll a d12.
Roll a d12. Why does this village exist?
Because number 3.
Ah. It's a spot where refugees of a calamity settled.
Yeah. This whole fucking campaign setting is a calamity.
Who runs it?
Number 4.
A council of elders.
Okay.
Who's a significant local?
Number 12.
An important artisan. Okay. So this is, what do they make? So refugee village, there's a council of elders who run it.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the people important in this town is an artisan.
It's an artisan who has unlocked the secrets of the bone technology, converting bone into material technology.
Cool.
Like they have some sort, maybe they could be refugees from the Pax, and people don't know that, of the Pax Osseous. Like as that whole structure is crumbling in on itself, there are those that are like, yeah, I'm out. You know, they like, I'm envisioning like the Council of Elders have like put their skull armor and their like horrible iconography from the Pax away. It's like buried somewhere, and
it's
people
all in the basement under the inn,
right? Yeah,
behind the secret door.
Yes, yeah. They have started over. You know, the Pax is crumbling from within. The warlords are fighting each other, and some of them have gotten out and decided to start over, and they are trying to eke out a more peaceful existence.
This is so interesting now. Because what could the players discover while they're adventuring in this village?
Yeah. The elders of this village and most of the people who live there are horrible people.
Yeah.
Who are just trying to start over.
Yeah. I just need a fresh start.
Yeah.
I'm a Morton Joe. And I just,
Yeah. You could, I mean, I'm not recommending that gamers do this because, like, at the end of the day, we gather around the table to, drink some drinks and make some jokes and have some fun. But you could really explore elements of like, are bad people redeemable? Like, do people deserve a second chance? Like, what does that look like? How do you reconcile? Like, what if these villages are like extremely helpful? What if they devoted their life to like turning a new leaf, and you discover the horrible shit that they used to do? And they're like, yeah, that's a part of our past. Like, we're just trying to do better now. Like, is that acceptable? Like, how do the player characters react and come to terms with that?
This is a fun question to explore along our alignment episode ideas. Like, here's a moral conflict for you.
Yes, for sure.
Current pressing problems.
11.
A curse or magical woe is vexing the people.
Yes.
Nobody gets out of the Pax.
Yes. For sure. There is a curse that's built into people from the Pax. What is it and how are they dealing with it? Is it as simple as like people from the crumbling empire come looking for them? Or is it that like their souls are signed in blood and it always comes due and they just have to keep dealing with it?
Well, I mean, you could do the folk horror. There's a festival that we have to do once a year.
Oh, yeah.
But I also think, too, if we have this complication of the village and we want it to be a source of adventure, it needs to be something potentially solvable by the PCs.
Okay. That can be done. They can be absolved for their sins by a neutral third party. Somebody not of the Pax.
I mean, the curse could be as simple as you have to be forgiven.
Yeah. The secret ingredient was love.
Yeah. It's the horrific ritual instruments of torture in the inn's basement that we found along the way.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's kind of cheesy, but I'm into it.
All right. Who's a local likely to interact with adventurers?
Number 12.
The clan patriarch who doesn't want to use their own kin.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
And what's an interesting thing this place can offer the heroes?
Let's find out with number 1.
An unusually large amount of saved coinage.
Okay. The spoils of conquest.
Yeah. It's weird. I mean, I know these are coins, but I've never seen so many different countries' currency. Where did all these come from?
All right. Well, what comes next, Jesse?
I think we have created enough now.
Yeah. I would say we have.
We could definitely start a campaign, deliver a little brief of this scenario. If I were to say what next step would be, it would be to flesh out some of our other locations, make another kingdom or two, flesh out that cult in the Shield Hills, make them their own people. Maybe they're not actually a cult, or, well, they are, but, you know, like, what's their nation or tribe situation like? But we've got plenty of hooks, interesting places for adventure to happen, and following Mr. Crawford's guidelines, that's all we need.
Right. Right. So for the purpose of this episode and the one that came before it, job's done.
Work complete.
So we are going to, for our next episode, the cap on the fantasy portion, we are going to design some playable race options, or at least some character options for our player characters in these specific parts of our setting. And until then, how can our listeners get in touch with us, Jesse?
Well, you can email jauntymantis@gmail.com. You can tweet at me on X at the Jaunty Mantis. And we're also on Threads as the Jaunty Mantis.
Yeah. Or you can tell me in person like my cousin did.
Oh, yeah?
My cousin listens to the show.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm Maddie's cousin.
I found that out over Thanksgiving. So yeah. He got to Thanksgiving and he was like, yeah, one of your three listeners. And I was like, really? Wow. I was overjoyed. So
that's awesome.
Yeah. It's fantastic. All right.
Well, get out there and prostrate yourself beneath the gaze of the skull in the sky.
That's right. Get out there and remember that evil looking skull in the sky is there to watch you forever.
And you may have the tattoos upon your scalp, but are you really sure you're one of the created? How could you tell?
That's right. And it may only take a little bit of forgiveness in order for this reformed society of warlords and murderers to succeed.
Get out there and play some fucking games.
Yes.